Hello, this is Larry Chilson with ChillyBoy Productions, and today I have the distinct pleasure of speaking with the showrunner of one of my personal favorite shows running right now, The Wheel of Time, Rafe Judkins. Hello, Rafe. Thank you so much for speaking with me today.
Hi, Larry. So nice to meet you.
So nice to meet you as well. Well, we are just on the brink of season three for The Wheel of Time coming out. But I'd like to talk a little bit about the start of it all. What was it that brought you on to the project of adapting this epic fantasy novel series?
Well, I had actually been a fan of the series when I was younger. I read all the books with my mom. So I had always, kind of envisioned it as a TV series in my mind, as a sweeping 56 season epic. No, but like it was a real undertaking to read all of the Wheel of Time books. There's a massive amount of them, and I loved them. So I was excited about the idea of trying to figure out a way to get it to TV. A lot of people had tried to do film and television adaptations of it before, and had not been able to get it off the ground. But I felt like I saw there was a path for it, and feel really lucky that I got to make it.
Oh, certainly, especially as a fan, right? That's like a
Yeah,
dream
yeah.
project.
Yeah, exactly. No, I've always really wanted to do this. So it's pinched me often on set.
Well, particularly as a fan, when it comes to adapting an incredibly popular series that's been running, has as many books as the Wheel of Time novels do, how did you approach the balance of remaining faithful to the text while making changes for the new visual medium?
I think one of the things about the Wheel of Time book series is that it is not as cleanly adaptable to television as some of the others. There's a lot of a sort of story that takes place within the character's own POV, and you're sort of hearing their words and hearing their views on the world, instead of them necessarily talking to someone about it. And it's sprawling in terms of the sheer number of characters and plots and places that it has. So when characters are moving so much, that costs a fortune to put on screen because every new costume, every new set, every new world, every new land that they go to is something that is we have to create from scratch. So, you know, it would be amazing to be able to just do everything that's in there as it happens, but it would be, $700 million a season show that goes on for 14 seasons. So a lot of our job is trying to pick and choose and combine in a really smart and effective way, cost wise, to be able to put up something that looks really beautiful, but doesn't cost as much as some of these other big fantasy shows.
And how have you adapted or approached adapting the timeline? Because I know before, particularly something like Game of Thrones has gone with a one book equals one season approach, and we haven't seen that exact time match up in The Wheel of Time.
Yeah, from the beginning, I've known we probably are not going to be able to do 15 seasons because the cast will be 60 by the time we finish. So, a lot of it has been from the beginning about figuring out how to approach the story and break it down so that if we have 6, 7, 8 seasons, that can be something where we can still tell the whole story. And so that's something we always think about. We can't really break it down book by book because there's too many of them, but we try to
Mhm.
choose one of the books that is sort of the spine in a way for each season. And season three, the spine of this season is really book four, The Shadow Rising, which is one of the best books of the entire series. So it's a great spine for the show. And then we bring in elements from book three, from book five, even from book six to sort of flesh out the story of book four.
Well, one aspect to the series that I have loved was the beautifully diverse world that was created within the Wheel of Time, including weaving in so many LGBTQ plus stories in the overall narrative, whether in the forefront or particularly in season three. I've really enjoyed having just really small instances that flesh out the world and the history with queer people just being present. One of those being a little bit of a change from the book. So, why was it important for you to further develop and directly depict the relationship between Moiraine and Suan when it was only kind of referred to in the text, a little bit inferred through the written text?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I was a queer kid growing up in the 90s and the early 2000s. So when I'm reading a fantasy novel and it says these two women are pillow friends who slept in the same bed as novices and spent years in a deep, loving relationship with each other, and that they are each other's most important person in the world. To me, that reads as textual queerness. I know other people didn't read the book necessarily that way, but I think that their relationship is one of the core pieces of our world and what drives the plot forward and what drives both of them emotionally. So bringing that to life on screen felt really easy and natural because it is so intrinsic to both of those characters and what they do, this relationship they have with each other, and if anything, seeing it be truly loving on screen gives it more depth, I think, and a lot of power because it's a relationship with a lot of power in the books still. But I think seeing how much they love each other and seeing them look into each other's eyes instead of it just being hinted at kind of lets you feel that power at an even and deeper and more visceral level on a television show.
Well, I want to ask you quickly about kind of a theory ship that has been left in my comments, at least.
Okay. Okay.
This theory of a throuple of sorts between Luz Theron, Lanfear, which we obviously know their relationship, but also Ishmael, and them having a little bit of a love triangle throuple of sorts back in the day. Obviously, again, it's not really directly mentioned or anything, but what are your thoughts on that fan theory and ship?
I mean, I will say that it is a fan theory and ship that some people in the writers' room shared. Um, because the complexity of the relationship between the three of them and, who loved who when, who fucked who when, I think all of that feels very on the table, subtextually. So I don't think it's a crazy ship for people to be having. I think a lot of that feels present in the depth of those relationships.
Perfect. And especially now, as a lot of diversity programs and diversity by and large is facing some pushback, what is your overall just kind of response to anyone that has criticisms of the show? Because I know there has been some criticism towards the show for the diversity that's been depicted since season one. What is your response to that criticism?
For me, the Wheel of Time books, when they came out, were so impactful in the fantasy space because they were the first time that so many women and queer people and people of color could see themselves really on the page in these big fantasy novels. They were famously the most diverse of their time. And so I think it's intrinsic to the property and that we are beholden to having it feel like this is the most diverse fantasy show on television as well, and that people can find themselves in this show that can't find themselves in other shows, and other fantasy projects and other sci-fi and genre projects. And so I think that's one of the beautiful things that Robert Jordan did with the books is give people like me and my mom someone in the books that they could see and feel like they were there too for the very first time in fantasy books. And so, I think that that's our goal on the show, and we want to give people as many different kinds of people as possible an entry point to this world and say they can live here too, because, the world is for all of us to share, and so is the Wheel of Time world.
Perfect. Well, if you would just leave us off with what can fans expect and be excited for when it comes to season 3 of The Wheel of Time?
I think fans can expect the best season of the show that we've had thus far and more on-screen queer kisses than we've ever had before as well.
Perfect. I think we're all cheering for that, at least over here.